Most of what people think they know about Spanish ancestry in Puerto Rico is flat out myth. When people think about Spanish roots in Puerto Rico, they imagine conquistadors, soldiers, governors, men in armor arriving in the 16th century searching for gold. And yes, those people existed, but that's not where most of the story ends. In many ways, that's where the real story begins. Because a lot of Puerto Ricans don't descend mainly from gold-seeking conquistadores. Much of Puerto Rico's Spanish ancestry came later, from farmers, from ranchers, from laborers, from fishermen, from soldiers sent to defend the Caribbean, and from thousands of families who crossed the Atlantic from a group of islands sitting off the coast of Africa, the Canary Islands. Today, we are visiting Hatillo, one of the clearest living examples of that heritage. A place where you can still see it in the language, hear it in the music, taste it in the food, find it in family names, and discover it in one of Puerto Rico's most iconic festivals. This is not just a festival. This is genealogy walking through the plaza. So let's go. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Chronicles and Cocktails. I'm Josué, the spirited historian, and today we are in Hatillo, Puerto Rico, and we are at the Canary Heritage Festival, el Festival Canario en Puerto Rico. So, I know a lot of people are asking me for genealogy episodes, and this is one that I think everybody's gonna like because we are at the plaza, and as you can see, we can have food, drinks, and there's going to be a lot of cultural events today. So let's see what's going on. But before we begin, I want to thank everyone who watched episode 73, The Unwritten Food Rules of Puerto Rico. It's still going on. People are still commenting. And the response to that episode has been really incredible. And many of you have shared your own family traditions and food memories. So go ahead and take a look. It's this one right here. And like I mentioned, today we're taking a different journey. Not through food, not through cocktails, although we're going to have both, but through ancestry, culture, identity, and one of the most overlooked influences in Puerto Rican history. The absolute epicenter of this story is not San Juan. It's not Ponce. It's not the tourist postcard. It's Hatillo.
Que nos han dejado nuestros antepasados y hemos seguido, ¿verdad? Orgullosamente con ella hasta nuestros días. Y también para con los que vengan luego de nosotros. Bienvenidos una vez más. También desfilando con nosotros el Círculo Amistad Canaria. Bienvenidos. El desfile se engalana con la Asociación Baleares en Puerto Rico. Enfatizar de una manera única sobre nuestras raíces canarias. De verdad que siempre acudimos, siempre os acompañe. Hoy el Círculo de Amistad Canaria en Puerto
Hermoso día que el Señor nos regala, caluroso por demás, pero estamos en el trópico, así que un tiempo sumamente hermoso, empieza ya el verano y estamos más que agradecidos desde aquí, desde la Plaza José R. Millán de Hatillo del Corazón, donde estamos celebrando nuestra herencia canaria. Hatillo conserva mucha de su esencia canaria. Festival de las Máscaras nace de ahí, de igual manera el juego del truco, y estamos orgullosos de nuestra herencia y por eso continuamos apoyando y favoreciendo esta actividad. Al cónsul, bienvenido aquí a su casa, Hatillo del Corazón. Esto es un pedacito de Canarias acá en Puerto Rico, así que esperamos que disfrute esta actividad, igual que todas las personas que nos acompañan, la familia extendida, disfrutando de esta actividad.
Hatillo preserved one of the strongest and most visible Canary Island legacies anywhere in Puerto Rico. As we walk through the church, the plaza, the music, the food, the people, and the festival, we're going to uncover why. And right now we're at the town center. As you can see, the parish right behind us, which is very traditional in every municipality in Puerto Rico, because the layout of all the towns, the streets, have to be built around a plaza and a church, and a Catholic church, of course, even though there are other churches like you can see right there behind me, but the main church is traditionally Catholic. And we're gonna walk around the streets over here. Can't see what street name this is, but we are walking towards the city hall or the town hall or the municipality hall, La Alcaldía. This building right here. So you can see, very tropical, a little bit like the old Spanish style, right? And then we are going to walk down the street. You can see that's the church over there. And we have the plaza right on my right. And we have a building here that it's called Gobierno Municipal de Hatillo, Oficina del Alcalde, Servicio al Ciudadano. So I guess this is the office where the mayor receives the citizens, and in between the two offices is the Museo de Arte e Historia Oscar Colón Delgado, as you can see right here, that building right there. So as you can see, Hatillo is full of culture, it's full of history, and it's one of those towns that it's a coastal town actually, because we have the Atlantic Ocean right on the north of it. And on the other side, across the plaza, is the Centro Cultural de Hatillo, which is a cultural center. And it's one of the institutions that is actually coordinating this Canario Heritage Festival that we're in today, because we want to learn a little bit more about our Canario or Canary Islands heritage. To understand Puerto Rico, you first have to understand the Atlantic. For centuries, the Canary Islands occupied a unique position in the Spanish world. Geographically, they sit closer to Africa than Europe. Politically, they are Spain. Strategically, they became the final stepping stone between Europe and the Americas. If Spain was the departure point, the Canary Islands were the waiting room, and Puerto Rico was one of the first destinations. For hundreds of years, ships crossed this route carrying people, animals, crops, customs, language, religion, and traditions. Canary Islanders arrived in Puerto Rico not as conquerors, but as settlers. People looking for land, opportunity, survival, and sometimes simply a future. The connection became so deep that many historians describe Puerto Rico and the Canary Islands as cousins separated by an ocean. In 2024, Dr. Lázaro Sánchez Pinto summarized it perfectly. He pointed to the Canary influence in Puerto Rican speech, architecture, traditional foods, games, genetics, and culture. Even today, many Puerto Rican expressions sound remarkably similar to those heard in the Canary Islands, sometimes closer than to modern Spain itself. The relationship was not temporary. It lasted centuries, and its fingerprints are still everywhere.
Voy a recordar un par de cosas. Fernando Clavijo fue alcalde de La Laguna. Si ustedes se pasean primero por el viejo San Juan y luego se fueran a pasear por La Laguna, dirían, pues esto es lo mismo. Y esto me lleva a subrayar la importancia que ha tenido Canarias en la historia de España, en la historia de Puerto Rico y probablemente en la historia de toda Hispanoamérica, de toda Latinoamérica. La Laguna es una ciudad nueva que se crea después de la conquista en 1493, o sea, después de que se descubriera América, y se hace una ciudad renacentista, de nueva planta, con todas las modernidades de la época del siglo XV. Y sirvió de modelo para todas las ciudades que España fue fundando en América. Es decir, Canarias fue el modelo para la colonización, o como se la quiera llamar, de América. España replicó aquí en Puerto Rico, en Cuba, en Quito, en Perú, lo que ya había hecho en Canarias. Y la historia puede ser severa con algunos de los episodios que hubo de la conquista española, pero yo creo que podemos considerarnos afortunados de que se aplicó el modelo canario.
But perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is not how the Canary Islanders arrived. It's what they left behind. Because their influence didn't stay in church records, ship manifests, or genealogy books. It became part of Puerto Rican life, part of the way we speak, part of the way we cook, part of the way we farm, part of the way we celebrate, and even part of the way we see ourselves. One of the strongest Canary legacies in Puerto Rico is language. In fact, many linguists have argued that Puerto Rican Spanish has more in common with Canary Island Spanish than with the Spanish spoken in many parts of mainland Spain. Listen carefully and you'll hear it. The rhythm, the musicality, the tendency to soften certain consonants, and the famous dropping or aspiration of the final S. So it seems Maria found a place to buy a few things.
Ya encontré algo.
Yo lo doy, no presento con la más cordial bienvenida. Disfruten y que pasen muy buenas tardes.
Para la esquinita del café.
Se encuentra con nosotros la presidenta del
Recogiendo
Centro
café.
Cultural del Cuadro, señora Wanda López.
De cada cual que tenga un sentido cultural, debemos unirnos todos como hermanos para luchar con este pueblo que la cultura es primero.
45-30. Sí, todo es material reciclable. Es periódico, cartón, servilleta, la planchadora, la lavandera con el papel limpiol. Todos son estampas de ayer, el que recogía agua en las galletas sultanas. El panadero, el gallero, el trío de musiqueros. Huele la cafetera, huele la. No sabes.
Gracias.
Sí.
If Hatillo preserves the culture, San Juan tells us why the Canary Islanders came. San Juan was not merely a beautiful colonial city, which it was, and it is. It was one of the most attacked cities in the Americas. The Caribbean was the battlefield of competing empires, England, France, the Netherlands, and Spain, who owned it all. Everybody wanted control, and Spain desperately needed people. As early as 1580, Governor Juan de Céspedes was warning the crown that Puerto Rico needed settlers and agricultural laborers. Historian Luis Rafael Burset Flores documents repeated requests for farmers, not noblemen, not aristocrats, farmers. People willing to work the land, people willing to stay. Many of those people came from the Canary Islands. Some arrived as soldiers, others as laborers, others as families. Together they helped populate and defend this island that Spain feared could be lost. San Juan became the shield, but someone had to live beyond the walls. Someone had to build farms, raise cattle, grow food, and populate the countryside. That someone was often the Canary Island settlers. When Sir Francis Drake attacked San Juan in 1595, and when later attacks threatened the island, Spain learned an important lesson. Walls alone could not secure Puerto Rico. A territory without people could not survive. The island needed settlers, real families, real communities, real towns. And that need would shape Puerto Rico for centuries. While attending the Festival of Canary Heritage, we also attended a fascinating conference presented by Damián Lorenzo Cruz Negron. Damián is an authority in genealogy, a member of the Canary Island Association in Puerto Rico, and happens to be my cousin. His presentation focused on the influence of Canary Islands in Puerto Rican history, culture, and family origins.
Es el Día de Canarias, que ayer se celebró en Islas Canarias, que coincide con la romería de la Virgen del Pino en la isla de Gran Canaria. Sin embargo, el 30 de mayo, y creo que la fecha la escogieron en Canarias a propósito, ¿verdad? También está relacionado simbólicamente a un hecho muy importante de la historia de las islas. Y hablo de la otorgación de la Carta de Calatayud, que fue firmada también el 30 de mayo del 1481, ocurrida 12 años antes de que se descubriera Puerto Rico.
And during that research, we encounter one of the most fascinating, shocking chapters of Puerto Rican history, El Tributo de Sangre, the Blood Tribute. The name alone sounds dramatic, and it was. Under policies implemented by the Spanish crown, Canary Island families were encouraged and sometimes required to relocate to underpopulated Spanish territories. Puerto Rico was one of them. Damián estimates Puerto Rico's population during portions of this period at only about 3,000 to 7,000 people, island-wide. Think about that. Today, Puerto Rico has more than 3 million residents. Back then, entire regions were nearly empty. And now, we are gonna get something to eat because my wife is a little bit hungry.
¿Salió todo bien con la comida? Sí, gracias. ¿Sí?
Hatillo is where the story stops being theory. You don't need a genealogy chart. You don't need a history book. You don't need a museum. You simply need to walk through town. You see it in the church. You hear it in the music. You taste it in the food. You see it in family names. You see it in dairy farms. You see it in traditions passed from grandparents to grandchildren. Hatillo didn't simply inherit Canary culture, it preserved it. And that's what makes this place so remarkable. As I walk through this festival, I don't feel like I'm watching history. I feel like I'm walking inside it. The music, the laughter, the families, the traditions. None of this exists because somebody placed it in a museum. It survived because generation after generation chose to keep it alive. That's what heritage really is. Not a monument, not a plaque, not a textbook. People, living people, carrying traditions forward, and Hatillo may be one of the best examples of that in all of Puerto Rico. Today we're going full Canary Island flavor. We are mixing up, or layering I should say, a very traditional, rich and delicious cocktail, the barakito. The barakito is a famous layered coffee cocktail from the Canary Islands, of course. It beautifully combines espresso, condensed milk, licor 43, or sometimes Tia Maria, and foamed milk. The trick to this eye-catching drink is pouring the ingredients carefully to maintain the distinct layers. We are going to use as beautiful as this drink looks, what I love most about it is that it tells the same story we've been talking about throughout this episode. Coffee, trade, migration, culture, tradition. The Canary Islands sitting in the middle of the Atlantic world, just like Puerto Rico. The barakito originated in Santa Cruz de Tenerife during the 20th century. According to local tradition, a regular customer named Don Sebastián Rubio would order this very specific coffee every day. Because of his name, Barraco, or barakito, the drink eventually became known by the same name. Just like many Canary traditions stuck here in Puerto Rico. And honestly, exactly the kind of drink I would expect from an island culture that takes both coffee and conversation seriously.
Salud.
So, the next time someone tells you Puerto Rico's Spanish ancestry came only from conquistadors, governors, and Old San Juan families, tell them to visit Hatillo, and Utuado, and Jayuya, and Adjuntas, and Lares. Because sometimes the real history of a people is not written in a palace. It is walking through a plaza. It is marching behind a band. It is eating at a kiosk. It is hearing an old song. It is a family name. It is a mask, a farmer, a grandparent telling stories. It is a Canary Island echo still speaking Puerto Rican. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson of all. History is not dead. History is alive. Sometimes it dances through a festival. Sometimes it hides inside a family tree. And sometimes it survives in plain sight, waiting for us to notice. Puerto Rico did not simply receive Canary Islanders. Puerto Rico absorbed them. And over generations, together with every other people who helped build this island, they became part of what it means to be Puerto Rican. That story is still being told. And if you know where to look, you can still hear it. So what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Are you of Canary Island descent? Have you been to the Canary Islands? I haven't. And we're going to visit because my wife has great-great-grandparents who were born in the Canary Islands and then arrived in Arroyo, Puerto Rico. Do you have Canary ancestors in your family tree? Let me know. Have you taken your DNA test at Ancestry? I'm going to leave that link below. It's this one right here. But it's going to be linked. Buy it through that link and you'll be helping out the channel. I'll get a little commission. You still get the test and you'll get to discover your history. Let me know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you this Sunday on a Chronicles and Cocktails episode. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a great Wednesday. Be good. Be nice. Read a lot. Get smart. Be careful out there. Subscribe, go to church, and salud.